Hello everyone and thanks for coming back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the SkyStars Talon X110. Longtime subscribers, you might remember that SkyStars name. There was a favorite of mine, the X120 or Bolt X120. Not sure where the Bolt came in. But this is a 4S micro running, of course, much different electronics because we are talking about last year. But this was highly efficient and fairly surprising, and you might remember this was one that I recommended. Let's take a look at the X110 and see if it's also recommended. It features the 1103 8000 kV motors. It came with these generic 65mm props. I ran it on the HQ props. Runcam Nano 2 FPV camera, F4 flight controller with an OSD. The VTX power output is pit mode, which is 0 milliwatts, 25 milliwatts, and 100 milliwatts. Switchable via TBS Smart Audio. 15 amp ESC. Mine is the FrSky version, so in there is the XM Plus. I secured the battery lead down. I also supplied the battery pad. Comes with these budget Velcro strappy thingies. It also comes with a spare set of props and various mounts that you can mount to the bottom, but no screw for it. And stickers. It weighs just about 51.5 grams. Bottom carbon plate looks to be 2 millimeters. Cross brace is 1.5 millimeters. So is the front cross brace. Top plate is 1.5 millimeters as well. And for motor post to motor post, I do get 110 millimeters. And here we go. This flight is going to be, well, I've got a special feature for you in this flight. The flight time is going to run around 3 minutes and 45 seconds. I go a little bit over again on the battery, so you've got to judge that. And I think the thing that you're probably looking at right now is the VTX is not very good. No, it's really not. And I am running 100 milliwatts, but it just doesn't do very good. These components look very, very similar to what was in the SpeedX Rex 80. And I wasn't that impressed with those. I know some people really enjoyed it, but I just wasn't that impressed with the performance. There are advantages to having a quad with all the components, though. A flight controller, an ESC, a VTX, all separate. That if one gets damaged, you just replace that one, rather than some all-in-one board, or having multiple components of a quad tied together. Like even the case of a camera and a VTX. So if one gets damaged, it's very likely the other gets damaged, unless you're willing to do a lot of DIY. Also, there's an advantage in the fact that the TPU that this uses isn't necessarily providing a lot of protection for the electronics. The electronics oftentimes in a pod, I've said this in the future, but you know, we have to give up something when we're trying to get weight down. Oftentimes what we're giving up is a little bit of durability with our electronics. Now these micros are really small and they're very light, so the risk might be very minimal. But this one has a carbon fiber top plate with some metal posts, so they will protect the electronics a little bit better than a TPU canopy will. That's for certain. So if you go headlong into a post, into a wall or something, if you're flying plaid through the backyard and you smoke a tree and you center that thing directly on the center stack, this one will likely have a much higher durability factor than a TPU. So I just want to, we've had some conversations about this topic down in the comment section of other videos, and I thought I should just clarify my thoughts there a little bit more. One person put it much more simply: racing is a TPU pod, freestyling and durability is carbon fiber top plate. And I would pretty much agree with that. Or if you just want more performance and you're willing to take that slight increased risk, that's up to you. You know, I wouldn't deny anybody the fun that they want to have. That's not what I do here. I like to have fun and fly these micros, but it's there. There's risk there that's additional when using a TPU canopy. Okay, enough of all that. So if we put aside the VTX that isn't great, every once in a while, and you've probably already noticed it, there's a little bit of a snap. And what I found was, and that's why I've got different props on, is the props they shipped with just don't stay on very well. If you bump into something a time or two, the prop's pretty much shut. You got to take it off and get a new one. Otherwise, you find in these kind of high RPM maneuvers, when you're cornering around something, that you'll get kind of that snap and that jerk, and I think a prop is slipping. At least that's my diagnosis, because after I changed the props out, I didn't find I was still getting that. So that's why you see mine with the HQ props, although I'm not flying the HQ props in this video. And I wanted to bring this video because it ends in a spectacular fashion, kind of. And I think it's coming up here as we punch over the house. I'm going to get a little too low. Oh, I clipped that and smoked that tree. Just centered that tree.
Yowzers.
It's one of those moments. I mean, I'm in a different position. So when I have what I think is a big crash like that, I kind of laugh. Now, I can feel your pain if it's your money in your quad where you're thinking that's not funny. But I thought it was funny. I went over, pick it up, kind of inspect it. Surprised to find that the cross brace, the motors, the props, really everything was fine. So I carry it back over to my little spot where I sit and fly, set it down, and if we listen here real shortly, we should hear what I initially hear. Yeah, there it is. So I've got something clipping there, a little clip noise. I figured it was like the balance lead off the battery or something had come loose and was getting slightly in the prop line. But it turns out it's these little TPU fins. And really all I had to do, and I could show you this back of the desk, is I just kind of pulled the motor that was clipping down, and that stopped it from clipping. So I set it down, and I flew it a little bit longer. I think we get another 20 or 30 seconds here of flight that we'll watch after I make that adjustment. I hope you guys all enjoyed the crash. That was a special attempt by me to bring some additional entertainment to the video. Okay, we're finally ready. We're going to arm again. We got a core temperature warning there, 70°C. When we see that cools down. Now, I've seen this a few times before. It's very, very hot this summer. We have had one of the hotter, stickier summers that we've had in a long time. I think winter is going to be pretty sporty. But you can see that thermal warning goes away relatively quickly. And I think that is oftentimes caused by a VTX that might be running a little bit hotter than normal. That could also be a reason why we see so much breakup with the VTX, is that it's just running hot. So as I mentioned in that clip, these props are actually a little bit shorter. It's really hard to show. Let's see if I can get this prop to lay right over the top. I've tried to do this a few times privately by myself. No, it's not really coming out. These props, these generic props, you really can't see it, are about 1 or 2 millimeters longer than the HQ props. But anyways, they were clipping right here, and all I did was just kind of put my finger underneath it and then just pry down with this arm a little bit. And then I also grabbed this top corner and pushed kind of in that direction. So things shifted in that crash, and I just kind of pushed them back into place. I'm sure I could have done a better job by loosening and then retightening screws after moving things around, but I just thought I would bring that up, that clipping noise was the prop against the TPU. I wonder if we can, I never inspected if we could see it. I think that's it right there. There's a couple little dark spots. I don't know if my camera's good enough to show those. Let me try. Do you see that right next to the screw? There's a couple, kind of a groove right there. Well, anyways, that's where the prop was striking. So outside of the stack, which looks very, very similar to the SpeedX Rex 80, which was a Whoop, if you're not familiar, it does have my favorite camera. I do wish it had a wider field of view, though. Run Cam, if you stop by, please make a lens that's much wider field of view. I like a super wide field of view because that gives you the perception of more speed. It feels more like that pod racing when you're in my backyard flying around, is that when you get that super wide field of view, you think you're going, going plaid, as I like to say. When I secured the battery lead down to the carbon fiber plate with my zip tie, I also kind of looped my antenna wires as well as my VTX wire. This, by nature, will kind of flop around. It won't stay down in its spot. And it doesn't really have a great mounting method. You might be able to use tape or glue or something, but I did something simple. I know that if this pulls on it, I've got some play in there, and maybe I should have some more. But that's what I did. That's what I chose to do. The length of the motor wire is kind of ridiculously long. I don't know if this is going to become a problem, but I think it has ever so slightly some potential to possibly get in the prop line, as you can see there. The prop can touch the wire, so I wish they just use shorter motor wires. You can do what you want to do. You can clip them, or what, if you clip them, then you've got to solder. You just have a choice. You can just run a zip tie around them here, tie them both together, and pull in some of that slack. That will keep them out of the way. We've also got a fin up here. Generally, we see fins used with the purposes of turtle mode. I don't suggest you use turtle mode unless you're stuck in a position where you can't get the quad back unless you try it. Outside, I think turtle mode poses a little bit of risk. Our ESCs are getting better now as time has passed, so you might feel differently about that. It's just a friendly warning. And the VTX that's right here, it's kind of in a handy spot to touch it when you pick it up, so you might want to be careful. I know many of you have much thicker hands, or your skin is very hardy and you don't feel the heat, but I noticed it when picking this thing up that that wasn't a spot I wanted to pick it up at. I wanted to grab it by an arm or somewhere else. My habit is to grab right here in the flight stack, and that got pretty dang hot, which may have been why we see so much breakup in the video. I was really unimpressed with the VTX, but because this one is separate, you know, you could just replace the VTX if you have a favorite. The current price on the SkyStars Talon X110 is $122.99. That may vary from the time I'm recording this to when you're watching this. If I can, I'll see if I can get a coupon from Banggood so you can pick it up cheaper, and I'll put that with the link to the product down in the video description below. Overall, I thought it was a good flyer. I didn't care for a few minor things. The VTX and the props were the two things I didn't care for. I think the motor stem lengths should be shorter. On these HQ props, I think they also need to be through holes. Wouldn't matter all that much because we have such long motor stems on these. But again, the HQ props did not come with this. It came with those generics that were slipping and causing that quick twitch every once in a while in those long at speed curves. So the SkyStars Talon X110, it's been around a while, and I suspect there's got to be more than a few review videos out there. Is there anything I missed? Was it good? Was it bad? Do you have one? If you do, leave your experiences down below. If there are things I missed, or good or bad, leave those down below. I like to think that we're all in this together, and that if people that come to this channel choose to take the time to leave a comment, that people who are researching products should also take the time to get as much information as possible, not just one guy's information. If you've got one too, that's just as valid as anything I might have to say. So if you do have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please leave those in the section down below. I appreciate your time. And thanks for watching. I forgot my Flywoo shirt. I got black on today. It's the first time black's been on. That's small. So the SkyStars Talon X110, it's been around a while.